Hey vinyl community, Brian again, Gibson A9 on YouTube, and we're back again for another video in my progressive rock vinyl collection. So thanks to everybody who's been watching. There's a bunch of you out there, I guess, who've been watching the whole series, so thank you for that. And we're getting on toward the end of it. Maybe today's video and another, and that might be about it. So we are going to be in the V's and W's today. So lots of really good stuff in here today that I think you'll enjoy and probably recognize. So with no further ado, let's get started. The first group in the V's is a kind of a classic progressive rock group, Graaf Generator, and I do not have all the Graaf albums, I will readily admit. I have some of the biggies, some of the most classic ones, and so this one from 1970, H to H-E, Who Am the Only One. Not quite sure what that means, but that's probably Peter Hamill for you. Not even sure what that's a picture of on there. I always think of kidneys, but they're not kidneys. It's you know, scales, like you're, you know, weighing the scales of justice, maybe. I guess, but looks like kidneys to me. But anyway, this is a copy on Dunhill ABC, and I've seen there's a copy that's where this outside part, instead of being white, is purple or blue or something. I'm not sure what the difference is, but that's a really interesting album. I don't think they had fully realized their full sound yet, but really interesting. Peter Hamill's a really creative guy, the odd-sounding lead voice, very unique. Nobody else sounds like Graaf, so probably the one that's considered their progressive rock epic or masterpiece would be Pawn Hearts from maybe 72. Let's see if that's right. Yeah, 72. This is on Famous Charisma, distributed by Buddha. So it's kind of an American printing of it. But boy, this is an amazing album. Plague of the Lighthouse Keepers, I believe, is on there, and Peter Hamill's voice is just so expressive on this one. It's an amazing album. You'll see it on Vinyl Community. A lot of people will talk about it frequently. Derek's a big fan of that group. I think Derek's actually met Peter Hamill and all the other guys, but pardon me, but I'm cranking. In the background you'll hear some Rick Wakeman going on that we'll get to in a minute, but love his stuff, so I thought I'd crank it up. But next one I only have 3 Graaf albums. This is God Bluff from 1976, I believe it is. Yeah, 76, God Bluff. Again, an incredible album. These guys is very creative, really cool use of instrumentation, and Peter Hamill's voice is almost like another instrument. It's just so different. So somebody on YouTube once said that, you know, these albums are not obvious. You put that on and at your first, you don't quite get it at first. It's deeper music that really takes some listening to get into. So it's not, you know, happy normal melodies maybe like you're used to, but very kind of complex and dense stuff, but really good. So that's a promo copy, by the way, just noticed. Okay, so Graaf had a number of other albums that I do not have, but I'm still looking for more Graaf. So I think their first album had a picture of a Graaf generator, you know, the ball with the sparks coming out of it and such. But the next one that I have is the only one I have by this guy, and his name is Vangelis. Otherwise, his full name I think is Vangelis Papathanassou or something like that. If you're Greek out there, please forgive me, that was really bad, but this is the only one I have by him. It's Heaven and Hell by Vangelis. Amazing album cover there, but Vangelis was the keyboard player for Aphrodite's Child back in the early 70s, which is an incredible prog group. They did the album 666 about the Book of Revelation, which I do not have, but this is from 1975, Heaven and Hell. This is a really good album. Lots of really cool keyboard work on this thing, as you would expect from the album cover, right? And Vangelis, of course, worked a lot and befriended John Anderson of Yes. So when John Anderson was taking a break from Yes and doing solo work, he did a lot of projects called John and Vangelis that are like Friends of Mr. Cairo and things like that, that I actually don't have copies of. I was going to revisit Vangelis' name here. Actually, John Anderson appears on this. John Anderson appears courtesy of Atlantic Recording, so he's on here a little bit. Anyway, Papa Thanasu, I think was his name. But okay, so now we get up to Mr. Wakeman. So if you listen, Rick is tickling the ivories in the background there for us, but Rick Wakeman, the keyboardist for Yes. Now obviously Yes had many personnel changes and many keyboard players, Tony Kaye being the original keyboard and Hammond, mainly a Hammond player, Tony Kaye was. But after the Yes album, when Fragile came out, they had gotten a new keyboard player and a young man named Rick Wakeman who had been classically trained and was just flat out an amazing keyboard player. But what I liked about him was he kind of pioneered the use of different types of synthesizers in rock music. So he was a big fan of not only the Hammond organ but the Moog synthesizer as well. And some of my favorite Moog work is done by Rick Wakeman. So the album that most of you would recognize, not his first, I think it was his second album that he ever did, but the first one's very rare, but The Six Wives of Henry VIII. And this is an amazing album. It's what's playing in the background right now. Of all the Yes solo projects from Yes people, this is my second favorite, behind Fish Out of Water by Chris Squire, but this is an amazing work. And if you know that I like vintage analog keyboards, right? So, so check out the inside of the gatefold. That, my friends, is a vintage analog setup right there. So he's got his mini Moog and his Hammond in the background, and so just amazing what he lists all the different. He's got mini Moog, Mellotron, more mini Moogs, electric piano, harpsichord, custom-built Hammond C3, and a Steinway. So if you like keyboard-oriented rock, this is kind of the pinnacle of it, in my opinion. Not a whole lot of vocals on it, which may or may not be a good thing depending on the quality of those vocals, but that's an amazing album. One of Rick's best works, Six Wives of Henry VIII. Same album. It's a quadraphonic copy. I don't have a quadraphonic receiver, but I saw this somewhere for cheap. Thought I'd pick it up. Next album that he did, Journey to the Center of the Earth. And now Rick was known for wearing a cape, which is kind of funny in a modern standpoint, but back then that, I guess, was considered really cool. So there's Rick and his cape. But he had a huge orchestra that he used on this one. So this was a musical interpretation of the novel Journey to the Center of the Earth. This was from 1974. So there's some spoken word on here where they talk about going down into the caves and exploring and such like that. But again, incredible album. Great keyboard work on there, big variety of keyboard. Wild looking inner gatefold here. And there's Rick in his cape, you know, hanging out with the stalactites and stalagmites, right? This one came with a booklet. I guess it had more of a poster, but cool stuff in here. The packaging back there in the 70s was just amazing on some of these albums. You know, you really got a lot to work with. Okay, Journey to the Center of the Earth. The next one I just picked up this week, and I had seen it online on Prog Archives, but never actually found a copy of it. This is actually the next solo work that Rick did, was Listomania, and this is soundtrack for the movie Listomania, which was kind of one of those really weird, odd 1970s, just weird movies. But Rick and Roger Daltrey from The Who made this album, and a lot of weird music on here. Some of it's not really great, but there are some incredible passages on this album. So you'll read online that it's very... Rick's getting a little bit loud here. Can't hear myself think. There we go. But anyway, you got to keep in mind, and some guy did a review that pointed this out, this is Rick Wakeman at the height of his analog keyboard work. So, you know, even though the songwriting's not as good on here and it's a little bit different, there are some keyboard passages that, with the full Moog synthesizer and all, that are just amazing on here. Listomania and that's a promo copy again, from '75. The next work that he put out was what I always consider similar to Journey to the Center of the Earth, and that is the myths and legends of King Arthur. And so this is all about the King Arthur series with Guinevere and Lancelot and all those guys. Merlin the Magician, Sir Galahad, Lancelot and the Black Knight, Lady of the Lake, Arthur. Another sort of epic work from Rick. And this one as well has a really cool inner gatefold art, as you would expect, and a really cool booklet showing, talking about the songs, talking about the. I mean, look at the artwork in here. It's just really cool stuff. So if you do find those on vinyl, make sure that the copy you get has the booklet inside. But you can find those for dirt cheap. I mean, a lot of people don't apparently think too much of Rick Wakeman, or he maybe sold a whole bunch of copies of these things, but they're well worth listening to. They're kind of like, they tell a story, but incredible keyboard work in there. And I forget the name of the lead singer, but the one that Rick used on a lot of his albums. Some people care for him, some don't, but in terms of good mid-70s progressive rock with the most amazing keyboard player I think that there has been in the prog world, in my mind, they're worth getting. So next one would be, next output from Rick, No Earthly Connection. And this, I had this back in college and really enjoyed this, and lost a copy, so I picked this up. But this one actually came with a piece of, the way this is designed, and I think it shows it on the inside, but you were supposed to take a cylinder, like a paper towel tube or some kind of tube, and wrap tin foil around it, which would be shiny, and if you place it right on the center there, then when you look at the tube, this would appear normal. So it's kind of an interesting concept, but I'm not sure how many people actually try to do that, but it makes for an interesting sleeve. But again, Rick Wakeman and the English Rock Ensemble, which was kind of what he called his band, No Earthly Connection, and some excellent keyboard work on here. Really enjoy that. Next one would be White Rock, and this is music that Rick did for, I believe, the Winter Olympics in I want to say 76. I want to say 76, but in any case, you can see little pictures of people skiing and things on there, and there's a happy Rick sitting there. But there's a song on here, the title track off of this, called White Rock, is just a synthesizer tour de force. It's just buzzy. It's a Moog synthesizer romp. It's just amazing. It's a fast-paced thing where Rick's just going all over on the Moog. So if you ever see this, pick it up just for the song White Rock. It's only lasts maybe 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes. A short little song, but man, it is just a rip-roaring Moog extravaganza. So maybe look that one up on YouTube and give a listen to it. That's an amazing song. The next album, as a pure album goes, is probably my second favorite other than Six Wives, and that would be Criminal Record. And this is a great album. He had Alan White's playing drums on here. Chris Squire played bass on a lot of these. Statue of Justice, Crime of Passion, Chamber of Horrors, Judas Iscariot. So he had, but some of the songs on here, I just, for whatever reason, it just it's more back to classic Rick style. And this was from '77. So I think that's probably the last of the just great Rick Wakeman albums. The last one that I've got by Rick is a double album that he put out. Real cheesy cover here, but this is called Rhapsodies. Rhapsodies from maybe 1980, I would say. 79, close. Nice gatefold album though. It's a double album. But, you know, look at that. That's, you know, for a guy that wore a cape and thought, how could I get any cheesier? That's it right there, you know. I mean, he's playing with his fingers and playing with his toes, you know. It's just, you know, cheesy. Anyway, there's a few good songs on there. I listened to that a fair amount in college, but it doesn't really measure up to some of his other work. So, but I saw it and picked it up. So. All right, on through the W's we have, so we're done with Mr. Wakeman. More solo albums from guys in other bands. This is Steve Walsh, and another fairly cheesy album cover here, but Steve Walsh, of course, the lead singer for Kansas. And this is on Kirshner again, like Kansas, but this is from maybe 1982, something like that. Maybe a little bit earlier, but it's probably earlier than that. Probably late 70s, a solo project that he did. Of course, he wasn't super happy in Kansas. He was more of like a hard rocker kind of guy. I think he wanted to sing more of that and less of the prog work. But you know, the songs on here are not Kerry Livgren prog stuff. It's more the rock and roller type. Every step of the way, just how it feels, you know, so many nights. It's more poppy kind of stuff. So I wouldn't call it pure prog, I would call it prog related. However, the next album is one that I really enjoy, really a classic in the prog genre in my book. War of the Worlds, Jeff Wayne conducting a group with a production of the classic War of the Worlds. And this is an amazing album. It's an amazing album. The packaging is amazing, the music is amazing, and the story is excellent. So I'll open the middle up. The middle has some album artwork. See if I can do this right here for you. This is a British pressing copy here with the album artwork. The booklet is actually stapled into the middle. You can read you know, more incredible artwork in here. That you know, the entire booklet. The booklet has just incredible artwork illustrating the story. But this is the musical version of the War of the Worlds, about the invaders from Mars coming and attacking Earth. It's narrated by Jeff Burton, the amazing British actor, so his voice is just, you know, the perfect British voice on here. And the singing, a variety of singers on here, including Justin Hayward of the Moody Blues, and probably my favorite song on here being the name that I can't remember for right now. Forever Autumn, that's what it is. Forever Autumn, just a pretty little ballad that Justin Hayward sang on this album. It's just amazing. But the synthesizer work on here that they did was really excellent. This is 1978, so it's kind of after the day of the heyday of the analog synthesizers, but they used the synthesizers to make the sound of the aliens, kind of a ooh-la, you know, there's this ooh-la. You know, those of you that have this will laugh, but you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of cool. Sounds kind of stupid when you say it, but so I just recently picked up this British pressing. I have an American pressing that's not in as good a condition. Unfortunately, there was one at a local shop that was Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs audiophile pressing, and I hesitated, and it sold, and I missed it. So, but just a quick story. I had a buddy in 1982 who had a Sony Walkman. Remember those Sony Walkman that would play cassette tapes with the headphones? That was the first time I had ever heard music in headphones like that, and he let me put it on, and when I put it on, this is what was playing on the cassette, and it just absolutely blew me away. So I still have a fondness for this being, you know, the first music you ever hear. I'm like, the music was like inside my head instead of out there somewhere. It was crazy. Anyway, War of the Worlds by Jeff Wayne, and he's actually, I think, still touring in England. He'll do shows of that, which I would love to go see, but probably not going to happen. All right, next one would be Alan White, drummer from Yes, after the original drummer Bill Bruford left, and Alan's been with them ever since. This is his solo project, Ramshackled. Of all the Yes solo projects, this is probably my least favorite. 1976. I don't know, it's just kind of average in my book, but for completist sakes, I wanted to get all the Yes solo works. Alan White, Ramshackled. Here's one I picked up recently. This is an interesting album cover, but Darrell Way Wolf. So this is a group, Darrell Way, I believe, was the violin player for Curved Air, I believe. And this was a group that he put together called Wolf, and they put out a few albums, and then this was a compilation album that took the best of. So I think the albums were 73 and 74, and then this compilation was from 74. So Darrell Way's Wolf. But so if you're a fan of progressive rock that uses the violin, you of course will like Kansas. You will like some Curved Air, and anything with Eddie Jobson in it. So UK, Eddie Jobson's solo album called Zinc, or the Green Album by Zinc, I guess you'd call it, and also Darrell Way. So give Wolf, check out Wolf if you want. All right, last one in the W's. Richard Wright, keyboard player of Pink Floyd, and in my opinion, one of the big parts of the sound of Pink Floyd was the synthesizer work that Richard Wright did. But this is his solo album that he put out in 1978, and there's some pretty good stuff on here. There was another project that he put out later on in the mid-90s that I think is even more highly recommended, but Richard Wright, just the textures and the moods that he would get with his synth work with Pink Floyd was amazing. This is from 1978 from Richard. So anyway, that rounds up the W's. And the only thing that's remaining in my progressive rock collection, there's no X's, no Z's, so there's only one group in Y, and of course that would be Yes. So I've got Yes being my favorite band, I've got a bunch of Yes to show you guys. Hopefully we'll pack it onto one video. May have to divide it into two, because I've got a lot to say about Yes and take you through. We'll probably do 2 videos on Yes. So thanks for tuning in, and hope you're all doing well, and we'll catch you next time.